Hi, this is Real World Audio, it's Janos, and let's continue with our driver lineup for LePetit. And let's continue with the next Fostex, the FE126NV, which is a 4.5-inch full ranger. So that's a tiny bit bigger than the 103NV, the one that Jürgen uses, which is the current version of the original 103 Sigma that Jean Hiraga used. And now it would be interesting to note that I don't recommend that much this driver for LePetit because it wants a little bit bigger cabinet, and it has a 3 dB higher efficiency than the 103 NV. So it definitely it's a good driver to think about, and if you want to upgrade from the 103 NV, this driver would be the choice because you are getting significantly higher sensitivity out of it, and otherwise it's remarkably similar to the 103 NV, just basically 3 dB more efficient. But actually it would need a bigger cabinet size, so I'm going to have a video just about like how to resize the LePetit for a Le not so petit. and there it would work, and it would give you what the LePetit gives at a little bigger scale and higher efficiency. So it's a really good driver. It's better than the 103, but I don't recommend it for the LePetit unless you want to build a different cabinet for it. So driver selection is not always easy. So that's one thing. That's why I pointed that out, that even though I recommended the FF125WK, that's also a 4.5-inch driver, but while that would work perfectly in the LePetit cabinet, the 126NV wants a little bit bigger cabinet to work like the LePetit does. And now let's go to the next driver, the Mark Audio Alpair 7MS/gray, and dash gray, that's dash. 5-inch full range, so it's even bigger than the one so far. So instead of a 4-inch driver or 4.5, you're getting a 5-inch driver. So it's really big, like not 10 centimeters but 12.5 centimeters if you think that that's a big one. And it's like $76 each at Medisound. What do I think of that? And curiously, that would also work in the LePetit, and actually it would even want like a smaller cabinet than the LePetit. So it's kind of a borderline, and actually why I'm mentioning it, because probably many of you would be interested to hear me talk about the Mark Audio drivers, and the Alpair 7MS Gray, even though it's like a 5-incher, but I don't recommend it for these reasons. Low efficiency, so the sensitivity is just 86 dB, and that you will hear it as a noticeable drop in dynamics compared to the other Mark Audio that we looked at. Which one was that? The Alpair 7P. So that's like a 4-incher, and it's like 4 dB more efficient, a lot more efficient, a lot more sensitive than this one. And coming back here, what also the strength is lower than the Fostex 103 Sigma, so it's going to have less detail, less resolution, less precision than the original driver, but it has tons of Xmax. So if you have like a favorite solid state amplifier and you want to crank it, you can send it a lot of power. It can handle loads of watts being thrown at it. So like the original Hiraga LePetit with the original driver, Jean Hiraga recommends like 8 to 20 watts driving power. So this guy, you can hit it with like a 100-watt amp and you can crank it. and it will be able to handle. Now the problem is that with that 100 watt, it will sound as loud as the 103 sigma sounds with a third of that power. But yeah, if you have the watts, you can smash it on them. By the way, if you have like a 100 watt amplifier, I would not recommend it with the original LePetit, because it has the ability to show the weaknesses, and chances are that if your amp has 100 watts at its disposal, that there was a lot of compromises made to the first watt to bring you 100 watts. And if there's anything, the tiniest cricket's hair bit bad with the first one, the LePetit is going to show it to you. So it's not a good idea. With the Smart Audio driver, because it has lower efficiency, it's going to show you not as much. So it's going, if you have like a, if your amplifier is not as good, you don't trust that you have a very high level amplifier, that's when this driver will work for you in LePetit, because it will keep the clothes on the new king. So the king won't be naked when you throw the driver at it, because it won't be able to show all the nasty weaknesses because of the lowered sensitivity and the weaker field strength of the magnet. So it's going to smear over a lot of things, but the very wide X-Max, conics, wide air gap, it will give you the ability to punch a lot of volume, a lot of SPL, and still not hit the fatiguing level. So if you just want to crank it up and you have a mediocre amp, then this is the driver you want to use it, and you will think that this is much better than the Fostex 103 Sigma. Just that's not the case at all. The case is that this is not going to show you the weaknesses of your amplifier, but as a positive, it will allow you to crank as loud as you want. So if you listen loud, then this is a choice for you. Now, next one. Parts Express, the Tank Band W5-2143. And that's also a 5-incher, a 5-inch single driver, and it has a bamboo paper cone and a 2.5 millimeter X-Max. So this is really tremendous compared to the Fostexes, and it's efficient as well. So it has 90 dB sensitivity. It gets thumbs up from me. It's about $85 each, so it's kind of not cheap, but it's not breaking any bank at that price. It's like really a laugh compared to any serious drivers, but it's a serious driver. It's just very very cheap. So if you are strapped for cash and your room is not a gigantic room, just a normal room, and this is really really good, and you can crank this up to quite a bit higher volumes than the Fostex driver for the LePetit, the original driver. However, it comes at a price that the optimal, so you would think that now I'm recommending it to the LePetit, but I'm not, because it requires a much bigger cabinet size. So basically it will work for you if you upscale the LePetit. So it needs to be quite a bit more in volume. So it will be Le Grand, not Le Petit anymore. So it wants about 3 times bigger cabinet size. So if you want to extend your LePetit to be a floor stander, Le Grand, then this is the driver for you. You can still keep the character of LePetit, but with the ability to play quite a bit louder and deeper as well. The FS, the self-resonant frequency, is 55 Hertz versus 79, so it will be able to take care of the mid bass and low much better than the Fostex driver does. So if you want to upgrade from LePetit, this would be one choice, but it comes at the cost of redesigning the cabinet. Next one. So the other one, however, there's also a tank band, the W4, the 4-inch version, 1320SJ. So the 1320SJ, however, that's a direct replacement for the original driver, so that one you can use in the LePetit cabinet, and it's even more expensive. It's $120 each versus the 5-inch tank band. However, it has a frequency response that rises towards the highs, so it's going to have an upward tilt. So it will have a leaner sound than the LePetit. So if you have the LePetit, or if you heard one, but I think it has too much bass for you, then this is the driver for you, the W4-1320SJ, because that will have a leaner sound. It's quite expensive, and if you just want a tank band driver, but not a leaner sounding one, but one that has more bass and more dynamics, more kick to it, then go for the previous one I mentioned, the W52143. However, there you need a bigger cabinet. But even though you need more wood for a bigger cabinet, but those drivers are cheaper than these 4-inch drivers, so you will probably end up with the same cost project, but with the floor standards. However, if you think that floor standard will be more expensive than the bookshelf version of LePetit, you might be mistaken, because for LePetit, for them to sound really good and have their potential, you need excellent stands. And to make a pair of really good stands, it will be quite a bit more expensive than just building a full 4-standard cabinet. So that's a consideration I haven't mentioned, which might be quite important for everyone. And now one more thing about this W4, the 1320SJ. It has a slightly rising response. I think it's because it has a neodymium motor, so it uses neodymium magnet, and because of that, it will be really, really good with digital media, but it would suck major wind if you just want to play vinyl or cassette tapes on it, and it just no. So if you are a vinyl guy or cassettes or reel-to-reel, forget this, and just look for something, the other tank band with the floor standard, that version, that will be, you will be much happier with that. And now, last but not least, we are going with the ultra budget driver. However, it's a mighty little driver, also from Parts Express, the Dynavox LY401F. And it's $26 each, 5 times cheaper than the previous driver. Ultra budget, it's a 6 ohm driver, not 8 ohms, so be mindful for that. It dips to 5 ohms. It has a self-resonance at 53 hertz, like super low. It's about 87 dBA sensitive, a little less than the FE103 Sigma in the original design. However, it has 1.55 millimeter X max, so you can hit it with quite a bit of punch and it will still be in the under control. It has over 5 Tesla motor strength. That's kind of mind-blowing, because when you look at these previous drivers, which are like between $60 and $120, many of them are much weaker than this. You're getting like amazing X-Max, amazing motor strength, super low self-resonant frequency, giving you potential for really deep bass compared to such a tiny driver, and it has treated paper cone and treated cloth surroundings, so it will have a really natural sound. There's no mechanical aspects to the moving parts of this driver. Is just insane for this little money. I don't think they're making any money on making this driver. It wants to work in the same size cabinet as the 103 Sigma, so the LePetit is perfect size. It has almost twice the moving mass compared to the original Fostex driver, so that's why it has such massively lower self-resonant frequency, because the cone is much heavier. So what does it mean? Two things. One of them, it will be able to work with the lower notes much easier because it's heavier cone, but it will have trouble creating the high frequencies. Is it so? So what happens is that actually it still does not have that much problems with the high frequencies, not at all. And that's because it has a visor cone and it has a phase plug. So it has all the bells and whistles to really crank out that high frequency region. And the original Fostex, instead of the visor cone, the face plug, it just has that little dome in the center to create the whole high frequency response, and it does that with a really light cone, so that's why it can create high frequencies. And here, because it's so heavy, that's why they're using the visor cone and the face plug combo to get the really high frequencies. And when you look at the graph, you see that uh, the response really rises above 17 kilohertz, so it sounds really extended, and you will not, I say, not need a super tweeter for this. So if you are thinking to add super tweeters to some of these single drivers because you think it might need a super tweeter, this is not it. So even though this is by far the cheapest, but this is one of those that do not need at all a super tweeter. It will sound super duper extended. Plus, also when you look at the frequency response curve, it's really balanced, and plus it has that extra rise at the very high end, which means that digital material will sound like higher resolution with it, but if you listen to LP, it will overemphasize the surface noise. So you really need, if you think that like I'm using Clean and just hand cleaning the records, fine for you, you drop this driver in, it won't be fine anymore. That's when the step when you need to move to ultrasonic record cleaning, because that 17 plus kilohertz region, if it's like overrepresented, that's where a lot of that noise is coming up, which is benevolently hidden if your driver is not EQing it up. But once it's EQing it up, you need like super duper clean records, which the ultrasound cleaning will give for you. And that's why one thing for ultrasonic cleaning versus non-ultrasonic, this is an area where the difference will come up. Plus, this little driver also has a little BBC dip between 3.5 to 6.5 kilohertz. And that means that that region 3.5 to 6.5 is a little bit underrepresented. There's a valley there in the response, so it means that it will give you a really nice non-fatiguing sound, and it will give you an anti-single driver sound. So if you don't like single drivers because they have that upper mid-range, lower high-end extra harshness to them or extra boost to them, this is the exact opposite. It has the BBC dip, so it will not sound at all like a typical single driver. So this is also for those guys who don't like single drivers but wanna, for $26 each, that's no money. You can try it for yourself, build a pair for fun, and look what it does. And the second one, if you are in a truly on an extreme budget, you can use these, and it will give you a smashing really good LePetit. And because it has really high X max as well, 1.55 millimeters, so you can crank it loud. Strong motor. Um, Sensitivity is a little lower than the Fostex 103, so it won't be as dynamic, but for the price, hey, it's a steal. Who can complain? I cannot complain. So this is our super budget prize winner. The Dynavox little driver is just insanely good, and it has a huge spider to it, so the suspension is really built like a much bigger driver, so it's really able to handle quite a bit of juice thrown to it. Just be mindful that it's a 6-ohm driver, so be prepared for it. So now I'm concluding our LePetit driver selections. Um, if you have any more, just ask. If you want to see another driver which will work in the LePetit or not, just be mindful that we are talking between 4-inch to 5-inch drivers. If you go smaller or bigger, they will not work This is the range. 4 to 5 inch has the potential to work in the LePetit cabinet, but not all of them. So thank you, thumbs up, and just let me know if you build a LePetit, which one of these have you chosen for your build, and what are your experiences. I would love to have your feedback, and good luck, enjoy, have fun, bye bye.